Welcome. I'm so thrilled you're joining us today because right now you and I are going to embark on a deep dive into something that is frankly a bit of a paradigm shift. We've got a single source on the table today, and it's this highly concentrated, incredibly potent guide titled Remove Negativity from Your Mind and Become Unstoppable.
Yeah, and when you say concentrated, I mean, you aren't kidding.
Not at all.
This text does not waste a single word. It's so short, so direct.
Right, and our mission today is to unpack exactly how it provides this literal blueprint, a blueprint for shifting from being a passive victim of circumstance to an active architect of your own success.
Exactly.
So as you listen today, I really want you to reflect on your own mindset. Has you ever felt like, you're putting in all the requisite work?
But you're just stuck.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like there's this invisible ceiling keeping you from the success or the happiness you're aiming for. Well, according to our source material today, that ceiling might just be built entirely out of your own thoughts.
Which is a bold premise to start with, honestly.
Oh, totally.
But it's exactly where the guide opens. It makes this really striking observation that basically sets the tone for everything else we're going to discuss. The author points out that fear, negativity, and self-doubt, they don't usually announce themselves with a megaphone.
Right, they're not loud.
No, they're silent. The text specifically notes that they silently block success and happiness. It's this insidious process. Most of the time, you don't even realize your mindset has been compromised until you're already feeling stuck.
Lethargic, uninspired.
Exactly. But the flip side of that premise, the empowering part, is that the moment you learn to actually take control of your mindset, you unlock the power to become truly unstoppable.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because the very first major principle the text lays out is titled Master Your Mind. And the opening sentence under that heading is just uncompromising. It says, your life follows the direction of your thoughts. It sets up this stark binary. It's like, what happens when your mind is negative versus when it's deliberately focused on the positive? The guide explicitly argues that a mind filled with negativity actively drains your confidence and your energy.
It's a drain, yeah.
It's not just that negativity puts you in a bad mood. It's framing negativity as a literal resource depletion. It empties the tank.
What's fascinating here is the mechanics of that drain. If we look closely at how the author frames it, negativity is treated almost like a background application running on your phone.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. It's quietly siphoning away your battery life while your phone is just sitting in your pocket. It drains the very things you need to execute on your goals, which are confidence and energy.
Wow. Yeah.
And without those two elements, taking meaningful action becomes nearly impossible. You're paralyzed before you even start.
Because the battery is at 1%.
Exactly. But the text doesn't just diagnose the problem and leave us hanging. It offers a highly specific antidote. It argues you have to train your mind to focus on possibilities and solutions. And the word train is the crucial operative element there.
Right, because train implies friction.
Yes.
It implies that seeing the positive isn't just some natural default state for most of us. It's a deliberate, sometimes exhausting, repetitive practice.
It's a workout.
Right. You don't just wake up, decide to be positive once, and suddenly you're cured. You have to condition your mind, much like you'd train a muscle through resistance.
Precisely. If your default setting is to scan the horizon for threats or dead ends, your brain will find them.
Always.
Always. And your motivation will naturally drop because your brain is calculating that there's no point in expending energy on a lost cause. But if you train your focus on the solutions, your brain starts mapping pathways.
Okay, I see.
And seeing a viable pathway naturally increases your belief that you can actually navigate it.
Which leads right into the promise the text makes. It says that when you make this shift, your motivation and belief in yourself will skyrocket.
Skyrocket, that's the word.
Not just improve incrementally, but skyrocket. I love that imagery because it reminds me of trying to tune an old school analog radio dial.
Oh, sure.
If your dial is even slightly off, what do you get? All you get is static, interference.
Yeah.
Just noise.
Just buzzing.
Right. And that's the negativity. It's exhausting to listen to. But when you make the deliberate effort to turn the dial, to train your focus directly onto possibilities and solutions.
The static clears.
Exactly. The static clears. You finally hear the music. It frames this mental shift as the ultimate catalyst for momentum.
And that momentum is essential because, as the text acknowledges, the real world is full of friction.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I appreciate that this guide doesn't live in a fantasy world.
No, not at all.
It's not peddling toxic positivity where we all just pretend everything is perfect and sunshine. That brings us right into the second major theme, which addresses how we handle external forces. The text freely admits, right up front, challenges and negative people are everywhere. The bad stuff is out there.
And you're going to collide with it whether you want to or not.
Exactly.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that realism is what gives the subsequent advice its actual weight. Because it acknowledges the harsh reality, its solution feels practical rather than, patronizing.
Right. It's not telling you to just smile more.
Exactly. The text delivers what I'd argue is the most crucial, empowering statement of the entire guide. It says, you always control your reaction.
Wow.
It's a definitive, non-negotiable statement. It doesn't matter how unfair the challenge is or how uniquely toxic the negative person in front of you might be. The ultimate power of reaction remains entirely in your jurisdiction.
But let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Sure.
Because that sounds great on paper. But in the heat of the moment, when a client backs out of a deal at the last second, or someone sends you an incredibly passive-aggressive email that undermines your work.
Your blood pressure spikes?
Right. The instinct is to fire right back. The chaos of instant emotion is incredibly loud, and getting angry feels entirely justified in that moment.
It might feel justified, but the text asks us to look at the strategic cost of that anger. The guide points out that getting angry or frustrated at these inevitable challenges is just a massive waste of energy.
We're back to the energy drain.
Exactly. We're back to that concept of energy management. When you're operating on instant emotion, you're essentially running blind. Instead of wasting that precious energy on anger, fear, or frustration, the text urges a complete pivot toward solutions and personal growth.
It's like a mental martial art.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
You're using the momentum of the problem rather than meeting it with brute force. And the text draws a very sharp distinction here between successful people and everyone else. It observes that successful people simply do not react instantly.
Never instantly.
Right. They replace the instant emotional reaction with wisdom.
Which brings us to the actual mechanics of how to execute that pivot. The text breaks down this approach into a very specific 3-step method for responding to challenges.
Okay.
It says you must pause, think clearly, and respond with purpose.
Pause, think clearly, respond with purpose.
Right. The pause is the foundational step. It creates a vital gap between stimulus and response. In that momentary silence, you prevent the amygdala, the emotional center of the brain,
From fully taking the wheel.
Exactly. You stop it from taking over.
Right. Because a reaction is just a reflex, but a response is a strategy.
Precisely.
The text explicitly notes that this simple habit of pausing prevents mistakes. And I want to make sure you, the listener, really internalize that contrast.
That is huge.
The chaos of instant emotion versus the calm of purposeful wisdom. By pausing and thinking clearly, you're transitioning into that final step, which is responding with purpose. You're no longer just a victim reacting to what happened.
You're the architect dictating what happens next.
Yeah.
And once you establish that gap, you can start to evaluate the obstacles in your path for what they truly are. Which transitions us into the third major claim in the source material, which is how we process adversity.
This is the heavy-hitting stuff.
It really is. The text offers a very bold assertion here. It says, every setback carries a lesson.
Every setback.
Every single one.
Not just the convenient ones or the mild inconveniences. I'll admit that's a tough pill to swallow. Because when something completely derails a project you've worked on for months...
You don't want to look for a lesson.
No. It's incredibly hard to immediately hunt for the silver lining.
It is hard. But the instruction here is remarkably unsympathetic to our instinct to vent. The text says we have to stop complaining about difficulties. Complaining is framed as yet another one of those massive energy drains.
Just burning fuel for no reason.
Exactly. Instead, it introduces the concept of turning problems into power. It argues you have to use those difficulties as fuel.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because fuel is such a specific word choice.
It is.
It changes the entire classification of a problem. If we view a difficulty as a roadblock, its only function is to stop us.
Right.
But if we view it as fuel...
Its function is to propel us.
Exactly.
The alchemy of adversity is about taking the raw, often deeply unpleasant material of a setback and processing it into something usable. Think of complaining as friction. It just grinds the engine down and creates unnecessary heat.
Right.
Searching for the lesson, on the other hand, is combustion. It creates forward motion.
And the text guarantees specific outcomes when you manage to pull off this alchemy. It promises that if you use difficulty as fuel, you will grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Think about the strategic implications of that mindset for a second. If every single problem you encounter is just an opportunity to become stronger and wiser,
Then problems completely lose their leverage over you.
boom, exactly. You've neutralized the threat of a problem because it's now just a required ingredient for your own growth.
It's the ultimate shift from a defensive posture to an offensive one. You're no longer constantly trying to protect yourself from setbacks. You're actively absorbing them to expand your own capabilities.
Like you're leveling up.
Exactly. You're literally becoming unstoppable, just like the title suggests, because the very things designed to stop you are now making you faster.
Okay, so we've covered the internal philosophy. We're mastering the mind. We're controlling our reactions through the pause. And we're processing adversity into fuel.
The groundwork is laid.
Right. Now, the text pivots to the final section, which acts as the daily operational manual. It outlines specific parameters to, quote, design a positive life. This is the blueprint for maintaining that unstoppable momentum we just talked about.
Yeah.
It lists 4 distinct pillars, and I want us to take our time walking through them because each one requires real effort. The first pillar is surround yourself with positive, ambitious people.
Which is a brilliant structural callback within the text. Earlier, it forced us to acknowledge that negative people are everywhere.
Right, the reality check.
Yes. Now, it's giving you the proactive strategy to counter that environmental hazard. You can't eliminate negative people from the world.
As much as we might want to sometimes.
Right. But you can actively construct a microenvironment, like an oasis of positive, ambitious people around yourself.
But let me ask you this, based on the text. What if you work in a highly toxic corporate environment? Or what if you have family members who are just inherently pessimistic?
It happens all the time.
Right, and you can't always just fire your coworkers or ghost your relatives. How does the guide expect us to navigate that?
By focusing on what you can control, which goes right back to the core premise of the guide.
Okay.
You might not control every person you interact with from 9 to 5, but you completely control who you spend your discretionary time with.
Ah, right.
You control who you text for advice, who you grab coffee with on the weekends, whose podcasts or books you consume.
The inputs you choose.
Exactly. By intentionally curating that inner circle with ambition and positivity, you're building an external support system that reinforces the internal mindset you're trying to train. It's about ensuring the loudest voices in your life are the ones pulling you forward, not dragging you down.
That makes a lot of sense. You're actively insulating your new mindset.
Yes.
Then the text moves to the second pillar, which is build powerful daily habits. I love this addition because it grounds all this high-level mindset philosophy into the grit of everyday life.
It makes it practical.
Right. Changing your thoughts isn't a one-and-done epiphany where the heavens open up and you're suddenly unstoppable. Mindset requires daily, unglamorous action.
It absolutely does. Motivation, as we discussed earlier, can skyrocket when you shift your perspective. But motivation is also inherently fleeting.
It comes and goes.
It's an emotion, and emotions fade. Habits are what sustain the trajectory after that initial burst of motivation burns off. The text deliberately uses the word powerful to describe these habits.
Powerful.
Not just casual. Exactly. It's not just talking about drinking a glass of water in the morning. It's talking about specific, non-negotiable actions designed to reinforce your goals and your positive mindset day in and day out, regardless of how you happen to feel that morning.
Which perfectly sets up the third pillar. Stay locked in on your goals.
Locked in.
That phrasing, locked in, it suggests a really intense, unwavering level of focus. It implies that you have to maintain your bearing despite the inevitable distractions or the negative people trying to pull your attention away. You know exactly where your ship is heading, and your hands do not leave the wheel.
And yet, this is where the text introduces a really fascinating counterbalance.
Oh, yeah.
Immediately after demanding that intense, locked-in focus, it provides the fourth and final pillar, which acts as a crucial safety valve. It says, keep balance in your life and mindset.
I found that so interesting. It almost feels contradictory at first glance.
It does.
Like, how do you stay locked in while also maintaining balance?
It's profound because it acknowledges the most common pitfall for high achievers.
Burnout.
Exactly, burnout. People who are highly ambitious, who are locked in on their goals and aggressively treating every setback as fuel, run an exceptionally high risk of burning out.
Running the engine too hot.
Right. The text explicitly calls for balance, reminding us that being unstoppable isn't about running at maximum speed until the engine literally explodes.
Because that's not unstoppable.
That's just a spectacular crash waiting to happen.